Hello. I'd like to call to order the Legal Affairs Committee. In attendance are Councilor Higgins, Councilor Melville, Councilor Peach, Councilor Turco, and myself, Tom Rosenthal, as the chair. Also in attendance are all other councilors except for Councilor Welton. We have one item on the agenda, and that is a proposed ordinance involving crypto coin and concerns regarding predatory scams. This was brought to us as a late communication last meeting, and in our packet under 7A, we have an ordinance presented to us by the mayor. I'd like to now move that into this meeting.
So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. I'd now ask the mayor to come before us and present.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to you. Good evening, councilors. Hope everybody's doing well. Great to be with you today. I'm here and I'm going to be very brief. I'm going to turn it over to people who know much more about this issue than I do. But it is an important issue, and I'm glad the city of Peabody is taking this on and having this important discussion. I'm here today with our district attorney, Paul Tucker. It's great to have him with us, as well as Attorney Scott DeLay from the district attorney's office. Our police chief, Tom Griffin, as well as Sergeant Dave Betancourt and Detective Matt Whalen, and also our city solicitor, Don Kahn. But I think we all recognize that this is an important issue, something that we need to, as I said, discuss as a community. I'm always amazed by the frauds and the schemes and the ways in which criminals try to rob from our citizens, and the links that they go to pull these type of frauds on our residents. And cities and towns have to do what we can to support our law enforcement, to support our district attorney's office, our police department, and I'm very proud to help move this along. What you have in front of you, the ordinance I presented, was the ordinance that I had from the city of Gloucester, who took a leadership role in this. Really, I just mirrored their language, put together a ordinance for our discussion, and hopefully it's something that we can move on in the very near future. Clearly, by who's here today, it shows the importance of this, and again, I'm very happy that Peabody is taking this on, and hopefully we can enact this and give a tool to our local law enforcement in order to hold people accountable and do what they can to make sure our citizens are protected as best we can. So, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'd like to maybe turn it over to our DA, and I'll step aside. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. District Attorney Paul Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council President, members of the Council. I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words before you this evening about a real scourge, a real epidemic, what's happening in the world of scamming and fraudulent activity. So the issue that we have before us has to do with these Bitcoin kiosks, and they are what our own Federal Trade Commission has described as a payment portal for scams. That's our own FTC has called it a payment portal for scams. This is a preferred method for scammers to actually separate money from unwitting people who don't even sometimes realize that they've been scammed until they're contacted by the police department. What we've seen is the most vulnerable folks in our society have been targeted, particularly the elderly, people who are very vulnerable to being afraid and wanting to make sure they're following the rules. It's a very insidious problem, particularly the methods that these scammers are using. Government impersonation, claiming to be federal agents, either FBI, ICE, Homeland Security. We have what we call the romance scams, where people develop over time an online relationship where folks think that they're dealing with a real person. Tech support has been one of the biggest ones lately, where somebody will actually be on their own computer and they'll get an alert with a number to call. And these scammers are actually so sophisticated, they've gotten in through a virus, so now they're actually on the person's computer giving them directions of how to go to the bank, and they'll give a variety of reasons why. They'll say, we had one recently that they said they were trying to catch some people who were involved in child pornography, and if the people that they were trying to scam didn't help, there was a chance they could also get ensnared in it, and they'd never be able to clear the name. We've had so many, particularly elderly people, that will go to the bank literally while the scammers are still in the ear on the phone, and they're so persuasive, they'll tell them, don't talk to anybody. When they get to the bank, oftentimes the bank tellers will say, can you tell me what you need this for? And they're actually coached by the person on the other end of the phone. The financial losses are generally irreversible. Once that money is fed into the Bitcoin machine, our chances of getting it back are probably about 1 or 2%, and that's if everything falls together quickly and we're able to act very quickly, and that's far and few between. We estimate in Essex County alone, in this calendar year, reported losses are about $11 million, and that's reported. That figure is probably 2 or 3 times higher, because what we're finding is so many people, when they realize that they're being scammed, either by shame or they're afraid to report it, they're afraid to tell family members. So what we think is we're really probably only seeing about 1/3 of the actual loss. Peabody residents are at risk. You've got about 12.5 machines here in the city. The police department, I know, is on this. They've investigated a number of reports already. I actually pulled just one report as a case study, a Peabody case, which I'll tell you about in a minute. There is a precedent for what you're doing, using the vehicle of an ordinance. Scott DeLay, who's our chief legal counsel in the DA's office, is here with me. Scott's done great work up in Gloucester. They passed this within the last few weeks. Their legal team looked at it. Waltham has followed suit. I know there are a number of other communities. Marblehead and Beverly are looking at it now. I think Peabody would be the 3rd community in the Commonwealth. And every day, somebody's getting scammed. It's very frustrating to us in the DA's office and local detectives as well. I've walked into our interview room at the office and seen older couples, and one in particular, I knew it was a gentleman that worked in a local municipality. Him and his wife were taken for well over $100,000. They're both 85 years old, and it was the remainder of their life savings. There was zero chance to get that back. So that's the scope of the problem of what we're facing. I will say that there is a bill pending in the legislature. It's far from complete. I testified 2 weeks ago at the last hearing as the Committee on Financial Services. That's going to take a long time to wend its way through the legislative process, if it does in fact make it to the end line. The hearing that I was at, people came in and told some really heart-wrenching stories about loss. And there will be some industry pushback, folks that are in the Bitcoin industry that will fight back. They don't want any laws at all. As somebody described it to me, this is the Wild West of financial scams. When we first became aware of the scope of the issue, this was a couple of years ago, we reached out from my office. We checked with Division of Insurance, Division of Banks, the AG's office, and every one of them had the same answer. There's no regulations. They can't do it, and they pointed the finger at everybody else. So the fact that municipalities are taking this on, I'm heartened by that. It's every day that we're waiting to try to get other communities to come on board, somebody is being scammed out there. There is a bill that the AARP is championing. It's a good bill. It's not a total ban, but it's some common sense regulations, such as a cap on the daily amount that somebody could actually put into a Bitcoin machine, better warnings that tell a person exactly what it is on the machine itself. There's also a piece of the bill that would get a total refund for somebody. That's going to be a big lift. I probably don't see that going all the way across. And again, that bill is going to, even if it passes, it's going to take some time if it even makes it through this session. I did take a look at just one case, I think, that is emblematic of what we're seeing. This is a Peabody case. Peabody patrol officer responded to a local residence. This is just from July of this year. A bank employee had called. They were concerned that a 70-year-old female was being scammed. Initially, the victim denied the scam, which is very common. Police ended up going over, couldn't convince her. They ended up speaking with the bank again. The loss totaled $42,000. It was done over the course of a couple of weeks in increments of $10,000, $9,000, $23,000, to the point where the person's account was cleaned out. And it wasn't until much later that the police had to go back and actually convince the person that they had in fact been scammed. We did a very quick public service announcement last year. A woman came in from Salem, and when somebody tells you that they can't believe that they've been scammed, believe them, because everybody we talked to said, I can't believe that this happened to me. This woman in particular from Salem, who came forward and has let us use her name. She's done some PSAs for us. Law school graduate, 30-year employee of the Commonwealth, very, very smart woman, got the virus on her computer, was directed, she followed them, and as she found herself at the bank withdrawing $13,000, and the teller asking her, knowing something was up, and the scammer in her ear on the phone completely coached her through it. And as she was instructed to go to a gas station in Salem on Canal Street, and as she fed $100 bills at a time, totaling $13,000, she kept saying to herself, this can't be right, this can't be right. And it wasn't right. The money's totally gone. And the scammer actually didn't stop there, convinced her to go up to Target in Salem and buy gift cards as well, which she did to the tune of another $1,000. And it wasn't until she got home and talked to her partner at home who said, you've been scammed. She called us, it's a scam. That story, unfortunately, is being replicated every day across the Commonwealth. It's happening here, it's happening everywhere. And I commend the council and the mayor and the council president, you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing this forward. This is something that I think the residents of Peabody will get an immediate benefit from. Secondary to that as well is that we're hoping that what you're doing will also generate some media attention, because the more people are aware of what's actually going on, I think that that's going to help as well. There's been some public service campaigns by banks and some other financial institutions. I really don't want to wait until the legislature does whatever action that they end up taking on the bill there. So I commend you for taking this up, and my office is ready to help in any way that we can.
Thank you. Thank you very much, District Attorney Paul Tucker. Before we go into questions, I'd like to hear from the police chief, Chief Griffin, and then after his presentation, then if anybody has questions, then we can ask anybody we want at that particular moment. Chief Griffin.
Thank you. I won't be very long. I appreciate the outstanding job the district attorney did. I would just add that at the police department, we're very concerned about this. Obviously, in Peabody, we have a very large elderly population that can be easily manipulated and easily taken advantage of. I have two of my detectives here who've been doing these investigations. Over time, these companies that have these Bitcoin machines have become increasingly less cooperative, to the point where they really won't cooperate with us at all now. So it's very difficult to recover any funds that anybody might put into these machines. I think we're well over $100,000 in victims in our city alone. So I think moving on this as soon as we can is important, and I would just really appreciate the support from the council on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Would either Sergeant Betancourt or Detective Whalen like to come up?
How you doing?
Good.
Good evening. Yeah, I mean, just to add, so we believe it's about 15 victims since 2023. A total of $147,000 has been lost by these victims. Something that the district attorney mentioned to me earlier, and his office educated me on, state of Iowa, I believe. Yes. They did a study that showed that 98% of the deposits into the machines are scams. So we open these machines after writing search warrants. Usually the only money in the machines are the victims' funds. I mean, any of us are going to buy Bitcoin, we're going to call a bank and buy Bitcoin. We're not going to walk into 7-Eleven and put money into a machine to buy Bitcoin.
Now, do you know how many kiosks or machines do we have?
We believe there's 16 in the city. One of the most recent ones is in a hotel, which, why do you need a Bitcoin machine in a hotel? Which then leads to me, and this is just my belief, that a lot of these machines are being used to wash money and to scam people.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
I'll now open it up to the council for questions. Councilman Manning Martin.
I can defer to members if I don't want to jump the line, but no.
I didn't see any
Okay,
members.
thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Melville.
Thank you. What kind of pushback or recourse has the industry? Have you seen any litigation or anything?
There
like
was
that?
one case, is it Worcester County? That it came? I mean, you could probably speak better.
Yeah, there have been a few cases where they've pushed back, but they're a little bit, the industry we found is a little bit reluctant to do that because that would affect their, they look at this loss as the cost of doing business. So courtrooms are kind of their enemy in a way because that puts all the actions and the facts in front of a judge who can make decisions that would be adverse to them. So to the extent that it hasn't caught on, all of these municipalities doing these bans on these machines, until it reaches I think, critical mass, you're not going to see massive litigation about it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just a comment is, if you buy securities, if, I was licensed, and you can at any moment, there's a certain period of time where the consumer can then say, I changed my mind, I didn't mean to buy that, or, and then they can typically reverse the transaction. If you're working with a financial institution, you have a balance in that bank before you purchase the stock or the security, the treasury or whatever. And so that money is already there. And then you can reverse that transaction if and it's usually a period of time to do that. And the idea that it seems like they're using cash on purpose for the specific reason that it's harder to recover the funds.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, once this money goes into these machines, it's completely untraceable. So, we've had very limited luck in getting any of the money back. We've had some luck in seizing it, but, we've got to rely on the courts to get that money back.
And what were the fees that they were charging on top of the actual?
Yeah, so the fees can be upwards of 30%. I mean, we've seen them ranging from 20 to even on some rare occasions up to 50. But
so that's
generally,
predatory. So.
Oh, it's absolutely predatory. I mean, so in the industry, if you go to, say, Venmo or any other app which would allow you access to cryptocurrency, they're going to charge you between 1% and 3%, right? You go to one of these kiosks, it's 30%.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Councilor Melville. Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just punched in online. I don't even know what these machines look like, so I just punched in Bitcoin machine near me, and something Rocket Coin came up, and there's one in Lynn and one in Marblehead. But I wouldn't even know what these look like or where to find them. So do they, you said there was 16 in Peabody. Do they have to, is there a permitting process? How do they get approved to be at any location? What is the current law for that?
Sergeant Betancourt.
That, I don't think there is a law. There's a contract between the store owner and the Bitcoin company. In Peabody, the most common is Bitcoin Depot, which I will say they have become very hard to work with. These machines, they almost look like a change counter if you went into Stop and Shop and you were going to drop in. And there is small writing that says you could be scammed or something like that, but they've now threatened the store owner to not cooperate with the police. And there's many stores in Peabody that have seen us in there so many times that they're now telling people, make sure you're not being scammed. And now part of the contract says, do not talk to the police or we could go after you in a lawsuit.
So what is the benefit for the business owner?
I would assume that
money
they're getting a small percentage, but I don't personally know what that percentage is.
It's generally a rental agreement, so
I'm sorry.
yeah, it's generally an ongoing rental agreement, so they'll rent a space within the convenience store for $300, $400 a month. Most of the time, they're not actually participating, certainly not participating in the fraud, and they're not usually getting a cut of that proceeds.
And do the business owners contact you and say, what's the incentive for them? They're actually a vehicle to the theft by allowing these machines in their business. So they must not call, they'd be like ratting themselves out that they're not even
They don't.
alerting the authorities that there's a scam going on. Is that accurate?
that is accurate, and generally that's true, that they're financially incentivized to not report these scams because that would, close down their $300, $400 a month that they're getting for this. Sometimes, actually, baked right into the contracts, it tells the store owner, I think you were saying it, not to interfere. So, I mean, to my mind, that shows actual knowledge that these are being used for fraud if they're actually encouraging store owners not to interfere.
Yeah, that's really alarming to me that local businesses would engage with anyone that has that declaration. That's really shocking to me. So I'm wondering, through our chambers of commerce, are we, our local chamber of commerce or North Shore Chamber of Commerce, have you done any PSA utilizing them, DA Tucker? Because for them to educate the small businesses, I think would be essential for both the victims and the small businesses not to get involved.
I agree on all points, Councilor, and thank you for raising that. So we have done some PSAs. I intend actually to work with Karen Andreas from the North Shore Chamber. I think that would be a good vehicle to do this. The other thing we have done is we've gone to Council on Agings, and I've actually talked to Council President Dale about doing one here at the Peabody COA as well. I just think the more people that realize what's happening, the more aware. And to your earlier point, which was a good one as well, we've actually gotten reports that the clerks in these stores have been discouraged by their management not to call, not to cooperate, and not to get involved at all. It's an interesting side story. There's one of the Boston media outlets is doing a story on this. It'll be ready in a couple of weeks. And they had gone up to a Merrimack Valley convenience store where a machine was in where somebody had been scammed. And when while the journalist is there, he watched somebody being scammed and went over and tried to stop it. This was a Boston reporter. So that's how pervasive this is. But on the PSA end, we're definitely going into overdrive to make sure that we get out to do that.
And has anyone looked into citing these businesses, finding them? Does the city have that authority to do that?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because as of right now, there's no prohibition. So, which actually points to the larger problem is at the state level, there is zero regulation. And I think it's by design that the nomenclature of the actual machine is made to look like a regular ATM. And as Scott said and Sergeant said as well, these fees are upwards of 50%. The original fee during the transaction shows generally 1%, 2%, or 3%. So I think people feel some comfort in that. It's the same as if you go to an ATM and it says you're going to be charged $3. It's not until after they're done that the fee actually kicks in as well. So they don't even know it until after, and they think it's only going to be upwards of a 3% fee, again, by design.
Well, I would like to know the 16 locations that have these, just for my own research. I'm very interested in this, but you have my full support. This is disgusting. And this is all educational to me. And I'm in law enforcement, so we certainly need to get this out to everybody, the average person, because it's really, really incredible. So you have my full support. I'm sure you have the entire council's support, but whatever you need. But I would like, if I could, get the 16 locations, because I just want to check it out myself.
Yeah, I do have that list, and I can email it to the council or whoever would like it.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
thank you. That's a good place to start, and this is very enlightening, and whatever you need, DA Tucker, I'm sure you'll get the full council support, but I really appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Manning Martin. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to District Attorney Tucker. District Attorney, so there's one in particular, Council Manning, that I could name to you. Is about 100 yards down the street from my house is the Richdale has one of these crypto machines. And at least twice in the last 9 months, that's been wrapped in caution tape, evidence tape, I'm sorry. So with that said, I've wondered after the first time, you don't have the authority to seize these machines and hit them in the pocketbook?
So we've actually tried, and we've done the same thing in Beverly. We wrapped it in evidence tape and got search warrants for the content. And in the Beverly case, the owner came from Las Vegas, actually opened it, and that was one of the very few times we were able to actually get the money back. I don't know, Sergeant, if you speak to the other ones that you did, you wrapped them as well?
We've wrapped them.
Sergeant Betancourt.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We've wrapped them. We've been successful in getting the funds out of the machine, but the issue is it has to go to litigation in front of a judge to see if the judge is going to give them back, the funds back to the victims. The owner of the machine is like, hey, I'm also a victim because I'm just the middleman here. I'm not the scammer. I'm not the person that put the money in the machine. I just send the funds where they're supposed to go. So that's their argument, that they shouldn't be losing any of these funds. So as of now, all the money we've taken out, we've unfortunately have not given a single fund back to a victim. One victim came in this week and I spoke to her. She's down to her last $5. And she is like, you know, do you have any update? And I wish I had an update for her, but I don't have one. And she was out about $9,000. And every penny counts when you get to a certain age and you live in, by a smaller amount of funds every single month. But we have been successful. That machine actually was our last, the last time we wrote a search warrant. And that company, like I said, was Bitcoin Depot, and they threatened to call the Post Commission on Detective Shula for taking the machine out of service. So that's why I say they're at the point where they're no longer helpful to the police. They are more of fighting us on a regular basis now.
Like, I guess that's just behind my question, and I think the ordinance takes care of this anyway, but, so once you wrap that in evidence tape, does the police department have the authority to just take that machine and hold it in evidence?
I don't think the court would ever write us a warrant, sign a warrant for us to remove the machine itself. They have signed off on the warrant to open the machine, which a courier will then come and will open the machine and retrieve the funds. But I don't think they would ever allow us to remove the machine. It would be tough to remove the machine due to the size of the machines, and honestly, we would have 10 in evidence right now, at least. So I think I don't think it would ever be allowed or feasible to do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Turco. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for bringing this before us. I think this is very important. And you hear these scams kind of nationally, but to know that it's happening here in Peabody, I do know the machine that Councilor Turco is referring to, and there are a few in Ward 3 that I know of. Obviously going to support this, but on a technical stance, maybe Councilor McGinn already knows this answer, but these are not the correct sections, right? Listed, Councilor McGinn?
I'll defer to Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. We've worked together long enough that I checked this. I do not believe they're correct. I actually have a larger question because the agenda refers to the zoning ordinance, and I'm not sure that's really what we're doing here either. And that may have just been an assumption by the clerk. I'm not sure.
Code ordinance.
It's code ordinance, yeah. Obviously, whether it was one or the other would have an impact on how we would go forward with this. But yeah, I checked both zoning and the code, and I also checked Gloucester to see if they align there, and I couldn't see where that aligned either, so I was trying to see where it fits. So, but I mean, I think the substance of it is fine, I think. I think we'll, if under the guise of draft and advertise, the draft portion would take care of the numbering properly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. Councilor Peach.
Thank you, Councilor McGinn. I didn't know if you had a recommendation. I don't know, maybe through to the mayor. Do you have, or to Attorney Khan, do we know where this would fit in our current code of ordinances? It's kind of it doesn't really align with anything. Just so everyone knows, Section 14 is our health code.
Right.
So it won't go there.
Attorney Khan.
I'm sorry, what the question was?
Do you, I don't know if you've had a chance to review Attorney Khan, but do you have an idea of where in our current existing code of ordinances this would fit? If it would be kind of its own chapter, or if it would fall into any of the existing, maybe the, the police chapter, I don't know.
I don't think I would suggest putting it in the zoning ordinances. I think it's somewhere in the general government ordinances. And to be honest with you, I haven't had an opportunity to look to see where I would suggest that this fits in, but I'm happy to do that for the council before you act further on this.
Thank you.
Councilor Peach.
I don't have any other further questions. I just wanted, I know we're trying to act on this as quickly as possible, but we need to figure that piece out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Peach. Councilor McGinn, did you have further comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I did want to bring up that point, so thank you, Councilor Peach, for asking that question. I did have some other questions, primarily along the lines of what Councilor Manning Martin asked. It's just unbelievable. I mean, we've got, I guess, as I understand it, we've got three entities here. We've got the scammer, the entity that actually owns the machine, and we've got the business that is allowing it on their property for a fee. And you know, with no real rules around liability for 2 out of 3 of those entities, and the scammer is, you know, vapor in terms of being able to get to them. So it's very frustrating, and I just want to make sure I heard correctly. Did you say there was some significant study here that said that 98% of the use of these machines is a scam? I mean, that's a real number?
That's correct.
Press the button.
That's correct. In Iowa, they have a very strong consumer protection statute, similar to 93A in Massachusetts, and they've used that in order to get. I'm sorry. Repeat the question one more time. I just lost my vision.
What I'm trying to understand here is if that's a real number, 98%.
Oh, the 98%. Yes, absolutely.
98% of the intended use of these machines is to conduct a scam.
That's correct. Yes, Iowa brought that lawsuit. They did a study, and it did show that over 98% are scams, and they actually filed that in federal court. And their lawsuit is currently ongoing. I believe it's styled as a class action, and so that's currently in litigation. But yes, absolutely, 98%, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's really mind-boggling. So, I mean, I obviously I support this, but what my question is, if you're doing it here on a micro level in Peabody, what's going to stop nothing's really going to stop the scammer, I assume, from sending them to the next closest machine in a nearby community, or sending them to a machine in Salem or Danvers or Lynn.
That's absolutely correct. This calls out for a bigger solution, a statewide solution, and that's currently being undertaken. Obviously, that takes a lot of time. We've decided that this is probably the best stopgap to take right now to protect local residents. We're trying to get this done all across Essex County. We've engaged Beverly, Gloucester, you folks. In a lot of ways, you and Gloucester are the tip of the spear here in Essex County. So yeah, it's a small step, but it's a big one when you look at the impact on individuals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Councilman McGinn, that's actually come up, and I have a thought on that. With our elderly population, they're comfortable in their own city. I think that they would find it easier to go to a store that's familiar to them, using a machine that looks familiar, such as an ATM. I think that added layer of having them go outside of their own city, I think that's another decision point that they may be able to say there's something wrong with this. I think that actually may help. Scott's correct that, you know, if we can get all of the cities, even if it was just the North Shore, but I think the fact that you take particularly an elderly person outside of their comfort zone, I think that adds one more layer of protection.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I do think it's, as your colleague mentioned a moment ago, this screams for a larger statewide solution to actually solve the problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn. Councilor Welton.
Thank you, Chairman Rosenau. And thank you for bringing this to our attention. I'm just curious, moving forward, is there an opportunity where we could sort of disallow the processing of a special permit for a convenience store or location? No, you're shaking your head no. Can you explain why?
So what was mentioned prior to your arrival is there is no mechanism currently. So that's what this code ordinance would be, is to ban them entirely in the city of Peabody, basically.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you everyone that came tonight under this clear sense of urgency. I'm glad that we're moving quickly on this. Sergeant Betancourt's been following this for a while, and it wasn't until I saw it was on the legislature's agenda, I think 2 weeks ago, I reached out to the district attorney and kind of asked, is this going to happen statewide? And he said it could be 6-7 months, 6-7, before anything is passed statewide with lobbyists and other things. So I think not only us passing it and being one of the first is great, but I also think I did reach out to the press, and they're definitely going to cover this story. I talked to District Attorney Tucker, and he did agree to do a little PR with Peabody TV at the Council on Aging in person and to have a video. So I think this is great if we can move forward. Obviously, I'm 100% supportive. The only other tweak I would suggest to the language is not to remove the machines in 30 days, but perhaps 7 days. From what I heard, Gloucester got them, they passed some special emergency ordinance, and they got machines out like within the next day. So if, assuming that the police have the manpower to move things out in 7 or 14 days rather than 30, once this is official, I would move to expedite, or to change it to 7 days and not 30.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council, and I caught that 6-7 reference, by the way. I just wanted to come up based on some questions that were asked earlier. We can move forward today. I think all of us feel a sense of urgency based on what we've learned and what we've heard about this issue to act pretty quickly. So we can vote today, or the council feels comfortable, vote to enact the ordinance and then insert it. It wouldn't be inserted into the zoning ordinance, certainly. I agree with Councilor Khan that that's not where it would go, but that we can insert it in the proper location after the completion of the vote. So we can move forward, and I would agree, Councilor, that 7 days, I think, speaking on behalf of the police department as well, would be most acceptable to all of us.
Councilor Daigle.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the council? What is the will of the subcommittee? My recommendation would be to move forward with this code ordinance change. We tighten up the section that it would actually go into, which we have time considering it has to go out for advertisement. But I'll leave it up to the will of the committee. Councilor Turco.
Mr. Chairman, if you want the verbiage on the record, I could do that, but would you like that?
Please.
Okay. I'm not going to read sections. Obviously, we know that virtual currency, a digital representation of value used as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, or a store of value, but does not have legal tender status, is recognized by the United States government, including but not limited to Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Dash, Litecoin, Ripple, Zcash, Ethereum, similar blockade in based tokens. Section B, virtual currency kiosk means as any self-service kiosk, machine, or device installed in a publicly accessible location that enables users to buy, sell, exchange, or transfer virtual currency through the machine using cash, debit card, credit card, or any other means of payment or other virtual currency. Next section, virtual currency kiosk prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any person or entity to host, allow, operate, permit, locate, or place a virtual currency kiosk within the city of Peabody. All virtual currency kiosks existing within the city as of the effective date of this ordinance must be removed within 7 days after the effective date. Next section, administration and enforcement. This section shall be enforced by the police department. Subsection B, this section may be enforced through any lawful means, including but not limited to non-criminal disposition pursuant to MGL Chapter 40, Section 21D. In the event of such disposition and subject to the safeguards of 21D, any business or individual that violates any provision of this article shall be subject to a fine of $300 for each violation. Section C, each day the violator continues to operate, the virtual currency kiosk shall constitute a separate violation of this article. Subsection D, fines are cumulative, and each day or portion thereof shall constitute a separate offense. If more than one violation occurs, each condition violated shall constitute a separate offense. Next section, severability. If any provision of this ordinance is held to be invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, such an invalidity shall not affect the remaining provisions, which shall remain in full force and effect. So moved.
You heard the motion by Councilor Turco. Any discussion on the motion? Being none, roll call vote.
Councilors Turco,
Yes.
Peach.
Yes.
Higgins.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for coming forward and bringing this important information to us. I know, as Councilman Manning Martin said earlier, this was really kind of eye-opening, to be perfectly honest with you, of how much deception is going on regarding this issue. So thank you. Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.